Extemporaneous speaking is very similar to impromptu, except it's more informative. So basically, before you go to the tournament, they're going to give you broad topic areas, and you're going to research those topic areas, and you're going to save as much research as you can onto your computer. But in recent tournaments, they have been allowing you to use internet, but it's still good to research beforehand. So once you get to the tournament, you're going to pick 3 topics, and then you're going to choose one of those topics, and it's going to be a question. So you're going to use that question to create an argumentative essay, sort of a speech. And you have 30 minutes to use your research to memorize and create a speech on the question. So, just like an argumentative essay, you're going to start your extem speech with an introduction, and then you're going to preview your main points, and you're going to use those main points to go on to each of your body paragraphs. And within your body paragraphs, you are going to have your reason, and you're going to support your reasons, and then you're going to go on to your conclusion. So it's much similar to an argumentative essay, except it's a little bit more difficult because you have 30 minutes to write and memorize your speech. You first go into the prep room where you get to use your research to compile a speech with support from what you've previously saved, or if there's internet at some tournaments, you can look up what you are going to talk about. What most people like to do is they like to use half of the time for writing their speech and half of the time for memorizing and practicing their speech. So some examples of questions you could get could be, how significant was the result of Austria's presidential election? Or, will Gambia have a peaceful democratic transition? These are just a few examples of things that are going on in the world that they might ask you. As I said before, you want to use your time very wisely. So do not take too much time in the prep room writing out your speech. As soon as you finish writing your speech, halfway through the 30 minutes, usually performers like to leave the prep room and just go outside the hallway and restate their speech over and over again in their head and try their best to memorize what they're going to be saying.
Late-night show host John Oliver, in reference to President-elect Donald Trump's immigration border wall, stated that it's a big dumb thing that only gets stupider over time. Like buying a pet walrus. You think it's a bad idea now, just wait until you see the cost of sea cucumbers. And, unfortunately for Donald Trump, many across the nation share such a disheartened view towards many of his immigration policies. In fact, multiple nonpartisan economic analysts have stated that they believe Donald Trump's immigration policies can create massive debt throughout our nation. And it is because of this discontent and criticism shared by many throughout the nation today that we are forced to ask today's important question. What modifications should Donald Trump make towards his immigration plan? Well, Donald Trump can make 3 key changes. First, he must get rid of his ignorant border wall plan. Next, he must narrow his idea of deporting all illegal immigrants to only include nonviolent illegal immigrants. And finally, Donald Trump must reduce his alleged law enforcement expansion policy. By doing these actions, Donald Trump can significantly increase the effectiveness and attainability of his immigration plan. First, we can see that the border wall policy proposed by Donald Trump is not something that the United States can uphold financially. Specifically, due to the fact that the main source of finance for the wall, Mexico, is not going to pay. In an article published by The Guardian on November 1st, 2016, Mexico's current Treasury Secretary explains that under no circumstances will Mexico pay for the border wall proposed by Donald Trump. In fact, in a similar article published by the New York Times on November 3rd, 2016, Mexico's president was quoted in saying that he does not see any way in which Mexico will end up paying for this wall. And unfortunately, because of Mexico's discontent to pay for the wall, it resides on the citizens and taxpayers of the United States to finance it, something that gets only worse the further you look into it. According to the Congressional Budget Office, the costs for maintaining the wall will exceed the costs for building the wall within just 7 years. And the Daily Beast adds in March of 2016 that the cost for building the wall will be approximately $25 billion. Thus, within the course of just 7 years, the United States will have to have spent over $50 billion just to keep up this idiotic wall. Ultimately, we can see that because of the massive financial strain that it will put on our nation, and the fact that the main source of revenue for the wall will not surpass, the border wall part of Donald Trump's immigration plan must be stopped in order to create successful and effective modifications. So, from returning to today's question of what modification should Donald Trump make to his immigration plan, we can see 3 key modifications. First, Donald Trump must get rid of his border wall policy. Second, Donald Trump must narrow his view of deporting all illegal immigrants to only include the non-violent illegal immigrants. And finally, Donald Trump must reduce his alleged expansion of law enforcement. By doing these actions, Donald Trump can create a much more effective and attainable plan that the rest of the United States and its taxpayers can get behind. On the subject of Donald Trump's immigration policies, show host John Oliver had one more thing to add. He explained that the $25 billion spent on the wall can be put towards a much better use, buying a Palmer waffle iron for every citizen in the United States. He explains that these waffle irons can keep citizens happier, healthier, and safer than a border wall ever could.
Going into an extemp or impromptu round, it could be very nerve-wracking or difficult because you are given some broad topic areas. However, you don't know specifically what you're going to be talking about. So it could be a little nerve-wracking and you might not know what to do. So some do's to think about when going into a round is stand with confidence. This is something for any event, but really you want to look like you know what you're talking about. As long as you think you know what you're talking about and you show the audience that you're confident, then they'll think you're confident even if you might forget something. Just go on the top of your head. Project your voice. This is very important so your audience can hear you clearly. Next thing is plan your speech. You might not want to specifically write out exactly what you're saying, but you want to organize your speech well enough so you are not lost while you're talking, especially since this is a limited time to go into the round and to write your speech, and you don't get so much time before the round. The next one is make eye contact. You really want to make eye contact to ensure your audience that you're not nervous and to ensure them that you are confident and you know what you're talking about. Next one is consider your audience. This is really important while writing your speech because you want it to sort of be relatable and you want to keep them interested. Some other things are don'ts. Don't fidget and move your hands. You don't want them to think that you're nervous. Even if you are nervous, as long as you fake it and you put on the show, they'll believe you. The next one is don't lean on anything, meaning don't spend too much time going on to one point because that is your strongest point. You really want to give enough room for each of your reasons. The next one is don't read directly from your page, meaning you can't bring a paper. Typically, when judges see that you have a paper, that does not look good. So even though you do not get so much time to memorize, it's better to just impromptu it, and it's better to just speak off the top of your head than to bring up a paper with you. The next thing is do not use filler words like, or ah. You really want to avoid these words. This is something that judges are going to look at.